Jack Flaherty interested in coming back to the Dodgers. We get into the possibility of the Dodgers signing Jack Flaherty to a short-term deal. Also, Gavin Lux gave an interesting interview. We get into all that in this edition of Dodgers Digest. Hey, this is Mike Nelson. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. I want to thank the 28% of the ones who are watching these videos who have already hit the sub button. But 71% of you have not subscribed yet. You know, myself and Brad J, we're bringing you everyday Dodger content. You're not going to find content like this anywhere else on YouTube. And this season is going to be even better here on Dodgers Digest. We're the best Dodger channel out there, so make sure to hit the subscribe button. Let's get right into it. Jack Flaherty. Jack Flaherty open to a short-term deal. Should the Dodgers sign Jack Flaherty? This is going to be interesting. Ken Rosenthal reported today that Jack Flaherty is open to a short-term deal. If the Dodgers lose out on Roki Sasaki, Flaherty could prove to be a neat alternative given he has already won a championship and is now open to a short-term deal. This is according to Ken Rosenthal. This is what he said today. At least two right-hander, Jack Flaherty and Anthony Santander, who, as we know, is no longer an option for the Dodgers now that they have signed Hernandez and also Conforto. But now it seems like Jack Flaherty is interested in a short-term deal with a higher average annual value according to league sources briefed on their discussions. This is according to Ken Rosenthal, who, as you know, has been doing this in base. He's been a baseball insider for a very long time, so you have to trust what he's saying. But now, let's get into this. What do you guys think? Comment below. Do you think the Dodgers should re-sign Jack Flaherty if they miss out on Roki Sasaki? What do you guys think? If you ask me, I think the Dodgers got to pass up on Jack Flaherty. I would not sign Jack Flaherty. I think the Dodgers don't want to, they already had him. Of course, he had some big games for the Dodgers. He was part of a World Series championship team. You can't take that away from him. But I think there was just too many issues with his game that the Dodgers cannot, can't pass up on. They can't overlook, I should say. They can't overlook the tendency to give up the home run ball, right? I mean, Jack Flaherty gave up a lot of home runs with the Dodgers. He had a lot of bad pitches that we highlighted here on this channel. We went frame for frame. We went over all those pitches. Remember when the Dodgers were playing just a few months back, and Jack Flaherty had times where he was just not very good, right? He just was not, especially come playoff time. Think of the two games he had, Game 5 of the World Series and also Game 5 against the New York Mets. I mean, those games were not very good starts for Jack Flaherty. They just were not good enough. And Jack Flaherty, left pitches in bad spots and was just not good enough in the big moments. I mean, I'm sure he had some good games, but I think in the biggest games, he just was not good enough. And the Dodgers just really, I would not bring him back because the Dodgers are going to be playing a lot of big games in 2025. This is a team that's going to be most likely the National League West champions. They are clearly the favorites to win the division and clearly the favorites to win the World Series again. So they got a lot of big games coming up. Now, does Jack Flaherty fit into that? Now, also, the Dodgers signed Roki Sasaki. This is not even a discussion, right? This is not even a discussion. Because the Dodgers signed Sasaki, and of course, they're also expected to sign Clayton Kershaw. There's no room absolutely for Jack Flaherty. There's absolutely no room for Jack Flaherty if those two things happen, which of course are expected to happen. Signing Kershaw and signing Roki Sasaki. Those two things are expected to happen, and there's just absolutely no room for Jack Flaherty. So, like I said, my opinion on it, I think the Dodgers should pass up on Jack Flaherty. I would not look into signing him to a short-term deal or anything that he is looking for. I think there's plenty of options for Jack Flaherty. I'm sure there's plenty of teams that are looking at him at this time. I can't believe there's no teams that are interested in Jack Flaherty, as a free agent pitcher because he was dependable. There was times when he was dependable, and he wasn't, obviously an awful pitcher by no means. He has had some down years also. I think that's also why teams are a little bit hesitant in signing him to a long-term deal, which I think was what Jack Flaherty was looking for as a free agent coming off a World Series championship. But look at Walker Buehler. He had to settle for a one-year deal too. So Jack Flaherty might have to do the same thing that Walker Buehler just did with Boston, sign a short-term deal for a considerable amount of money, right? $21 million. Maybe Jack Flaherty doesn't get $21 million, but he gets, I don't know, $16, $17 million for 1 year. And that, of course, would be a considerable amount of money for Jack Flaherty, a pitcher that has been an average to bad pitcher, in decent pitcher, you would say. Has by no means been a good or great pitcher in his major league career, right? He's been a decent pitcher, and it's kind of crazy to think the Dodgers were kind of using him as a number one starter last year in the playoffs. It's kind of hard to believe it. Jack Flaherty was kind of their number one guy, considering all the injuries they had, but that is no longer the case. Jack Flaherty is not the number one guy. The Dodgers have Blake Snell as well now. Blake Snell as well. That rhymes. But anyway, the Dodgers have Blake Snell. So, I mean, I think the Dodgers really it's not happening. I just don't see it happening. I mean, you can't guarantee anything here. I'm not going to be drinking coffee out of a dirty shoe. I'm not Brad J. But anyway, that's what we kind of do here on this channel. We're one of a kind. But anyway, I think the Dodgers are going to pass up on Jack Flaherty. I think they really are. And, I wish nothing but the best to Jack Flaherty. I think he was great for the Dodgers at times, but I just think that the tendency to give the home run ball, you just can't risk it. Now, let's get into also, this is also Bob Nightingale talking about, Jack Flaherty not coming to the Dodgers, especially once the Dodgers sign Blake Snell. Now, let's get into also Gavin Lux. Gavin Lux, gave an interesting interview, talking about how it was playing in L.A., right? I mean, I think now that he's gone from the Dodgers, he can kind of talk a little bit more open about it. And I thought this was interesting. He said playoff baseball is a different animal. Everything is under a microscope. And he said there's a ton of pressure. Playing in L.A. is a bit of a pressure cooker. Now, obviously, that is so true, right? I mean, playing in L.A. is an absolute, it's the Dodgers. Come on. It's like playing for the Dallas Cowboys in the NFL, right? For those Cowboy fans out there, you know how it is. I mean, when you're playing for one of the biggest teams in your sport, I mean, the pressure is going to be there. Everyone expects you to do better. And I just thought it was pretty cool that Gavin Lux was just pretty honest. He was pretty candid about how it is playing in L.A. A former Dodger, a former World Series champion with the Dodger, playing in L.A. is a pressure cooker. What do you guys think? Comment below. Do you think playing in L.A. is more pressure than playing, I don't know, for the Giants or playing for San Diego? I really think so, too. I think there's a lot more pressure playing for the Dodgers because we're the best, right? We are the best baseball team out there. World Series champions. Come on. There's going to be a lot of pressure here. As always, make sure to subscribe, and let's go Dodgers. Woo!